Rafael,
Oh, there I am.
here you are. Welcome.
Thank you, Annalie.
So good to see you. It was a
It's good
long
to see
time
you.
ago since we met.
That's true. Probably 2 or 3 years
Couple of
ago,
years.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Hmm.
pre-pandemic. We did that
Pre-pandemic.
kind of, we did that sort of normal thing where you just go to a cafe and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. We had
hang
a
out.
coffee, and yeah, it
Yeah,
was really nice.
yeah, it
We
was
need to
so
do more
good.
of that.
Yeah, we do. Sorry, are you in Brighton now?
I am, yeah.
Then we
Yeah,
definitely should do more
yeah,
of that
yeah.
because we're in the same place. So I'm gonna ask you pretty much the same questions as I asked Farah. So, so yeah, just yeah, start with a bit of your backstory as well. Obviously, you're the founder of Modern Portuguese, but that's
Mhm.
just one of the things that you've been doing um, the past, what, 15 years or something. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So how did I get into teaching? I
Yeah.
started teaching probably when I was 15 or 16, and it started with private tuition. Um, I'm a musician, and some people wanted me to teach them how to play the keyboard. So that's how I got into teaching in the first place. And then when I was 18, I was invited to teach English at a local language school in my hometown in Brazil. And then I went to university where I studied literature and linguistics. Part of the curriculum was Portuguese for foreigners, and so that's how I started teaching Portuguese language as a foreign language. So that was my first experience. And then I applied for a master's of philosophy in English literature at the University of Glasgow in 2007. Then I moved to Glasgow, started my degree in literature, and the department asked me if I could teach Portuguese language, me being from Brazil. And I said, "Oh, okay, let's do that." And I was excited, scared at the same time because my first time teaching at that level. But yeah, so since then I've been teaching in British higher education context and taught University of Glasgow, University of Hull, wonderful experience in Hull, then University of Manchester, and now I'm here at the University of Sussex. But also in the meantime, I've had lots of private students, and it's been really, rewarding having that experience with private tuition.
Yeah, because I think that's where you were at when I met you, whenever it was, 3 years ago. Um, so you were at Sussex University, but you were like, I have a couple of students on the side, and I want to set up a website. I'm working on a
Yeah,
website, and I'm thinking of kind of growing that a bit more. That's my
yeah.
plan.
So I never really had. I could never really like totally invest in private tuition because I was working at university and I had all those hours at university, and at the end of the day, you're tired and and you need some rest.
Mm.
But I was always toying with this idea of no, no, no. I would really like to have my own sort of business of private tuition, to do things that I cannot do as a member of the university.
Like what, for example?
Um, University as an institution has puts lots of constraints on you as a professional, as a creative professional even. So there are certain rules, there are ways of doing things, and if you go into if you're talking about the tech that you want to use or the things you want to experiment with, again, you're very limited because, oh no, we don't use this here at the university, or okay, you can use this software but only this far, you cannot use these feature from this with this software, so it's very limiting, and I was always dissatisfied with that. And I felt that when I was teaching privately I could really get into all that and play with the tech that I love, something that I love doing. And so yeah, being able to teach privately and set up my online business has been great. Um, to me personally, one of the best things about it is being able to use my creativity in all aspects of the business. Yeah. So I said I'm a musician, but I'm also into all sorts of things. You know, I enjoy opera. At the same time, I love biology and mathematics and physics and languages and all that. And I'm also into design. I love art. So anyway, being able to put all that into what I do is great. So for example, I can work with audio production if I want. Let's say recording a podcast for people who want to learn Portuguese. You know, I can play with whatever equipment I want and whatever software I want. I can add effects. I can invite guests, and it's just so rewarding to do that. And then you see the final product and say, oh, that's great. At the beginning, it's really difficult because of course you're learning, but you need some patience and yeah, be kind to yourself as well. You know, video editing. So lots of us, we have YouTube channels, and again, you don't need to start with the whole paraphernalia of equipment. No, you start with your mobile. Isn't that right, Annalie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just experiment. And then as you progress, if that's something you're into, then invest in it. No?
Yeah.
Start working with video editing software, get a nice camera and all that, because it's really, really rewarding.
It's so true, and I so agree with that. I really relate to that there's a real creative freedom there for you if you want it, isn't there? And right. I think you're right, that kind of the creative side of the whole production, and because I'm doing music as well, and you know, I'm just like, oh, I can just record a bit of music for, you know, the intro to my YouTube. It's like, okay, but it's just enjoyable, it's just fun. Yeah,
exactly. And I think you give really good tips on your book about that, you know, the whole process of how do you go on about recording yourself and all that. It's really encouraging to read that in your book. So if you're someone who has, you know, fears, if you're afraid of doing that, I think that after reading what you say in the book, I mean, you feel much more relaxed. I certainly did. I mean, when I was starting with this, there's so much information out there. It's so overwhelming. And then you go onto YouTube and then you type, okay, how to record myself, what's the best camera to use, and it's so overwhelming.
And then you get top 20 and they're all like £1,000 each, and you just think, oh my gosh, this is never going to work.
It's endless. And then you listen to someone on YouTube who says one thing and then another person says a different thing. In the end, you're not sure. But having a resource like your book is really helpful in that sense, because you've gone through all this process. And then you give us, okay, this is what you can do, this is what you can use. Perfect.
It's not the only way, as you know, because you've also done a lot of, you know, fiddling and experimenting and stuff, and it's just there's never just one right way, is there? You try things and you just, but like you said, I think the overwhelm is definitely it's so easy when you start to just go out and there's so much information available, and it can be hard to find the right information, and what's, because it doesn't need to be the best, it doesn't need to be, I mean, actually it doesn't even need to be that great quality in terms of the resolution or whatever, as long as the content is relevant and you're helping people, then that's fine. But then, like you said, you can experiment with that, and then you kind of like, okay, well, my mobile phone is probably okay for this. You do that, and then you're like, oh, maybe I do want to invest in some editing software or whatever, and then that's the next step. But it doesn't have to be that you just sit there with all the gear and no idea
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Right?
Because you need to think of how you want to work, right? As a language teacher in this context of this online context.
Mm.
If you're thinking about the flexibility that it provides, then you really don't need to invest a lot. You know, you buy a nice camera that you can attach to your laptop, and off you go.
Yeah.
Spend a month in France, and spend another month in Italy if you want, and instead of having to carry all that equipment with you, and that's more than enough, really.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
absolutely. Well, I
Hmm.
invested recently in the latest kind of
Hmm.
iPhone. I record pretty much all my videos on this one because the
Exactly.
camera is great.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I mean, there are lots of other great cameras too, but yeah, that's
It
up to
does the
you
job.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Would you
Yeah.
say that is there anything else that's been kind of a bit of a challenge for you in terms of your journey transitioning into being a business owner and a creator as well as a teacher? I mean, you mentioned the overwhelm and the kind of tech in
Yeah.
the beginning. Is there anything else that has been
Um,
sort of tricky?
yeah. I mean, when all you've done in your life is teaching and relied, in my case, on the university, you know, I never had to worry about my payment. I never had to worry about my taxes or anything like that. About my classrooms, yeah? That was all provided by the university, and that's great. That's one of the good aspects of working for the university. Um, so I would say that that's one of the challenging parts of running your own business. So managing the aspects of the business, some of the aspects can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And also, you need to remember, you don't get paid for holidays anymore. So
You
you need to
don't.
plan your time accordingly. You need to make sure that all those things are accounted for in your business plan.
That's right. And you don't even get paid for sending emails.
Correct.
Doing admin. Ah!
Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's a different
it's
way
been
of
really
thinking
really
about it.
rewarding
Mm.
working privately, especially online.
Mm.
You know, when you're free from constraints of institutions and when you can do exactly what you want, you can do things how you manage them.
And you can
It's
also, I don't know if you relate to this, because we both come from an academic background, actually. I mean, or higher education, but there's one thing which I find really rewarding with having your own business, which is like you can just, if you get an idea, if you're like, I want to do a course on this, or I want to create this content, or I want to do this little thing, you can do it straight
exactly.
away. And you don't have to kind of go, I'm going to suggest this to in the staff meeting, and maybe we can put something together in 18 months' time for the students of 2023. Do you know what I mean? You could just like,
Absolutely.
it's that kind of like, I just want to try this. I just want to see if it works. If it doesn't, that's fine. Okay, I'll move on. But you can just experiment quickly,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah, you catch things in the moment and you go for it, which is something that you cannot do if you're working for an institution.
No,
And you know, it's such a shame.
it is a
That,
shame.
so, but on the other side, it's good for us, you know, working privately because
Yeah,
a lot of students, that's the sort of thing they look for.
yeah,
No, I want something different. I don't want to sit in a classroom and, you know, do the same kind of teaching,
yeah,
go through the same kind of teaching I had when I
yeah,
was in school. You know, let's do something different.
yeah.
And why not start a course on learning Portuguese through literature or through film? It doesn't have to be something intense. It can be relaxing
Yeah,
because there are no exams at the end. There's nothing of the sort. So yeah,
yeah, just
it's
enjoyment.
very rewarding. Yeah, that's true.
Mm. Mm. And coming to the final question, which I asked Farah as well, if you had any tips for language teachers who want to start or begin to set up their own business, what would that be?
Probably be to start small. Really, um, don't think, okay, I'm gonna start my online business, and by the end of the month, I'm gonna have 30 students. You might have, great for you, but it's very unlikely. And don't be disappointed if that doesn't happen. And it's probably good to start with a couple of students, so you get the experience, you get the practice. I mean, that's how I started. That's how
Yeah,
you
me too.
started as well,
Yeah.
Annalie.
Mm.
And so you build your confidence, you build your expertise, and you know what you want to do. So start small. Don't worry too much um, about numbers of students, about equipment, and all that. Of course, we're talking about teaching online, but nothing stops you from, having a group where you meet at a local cafe or something like that as well.
Yeah.
Um, what else? You probably need discipline, and that's something I'm not very good at. So a lot of discipline. And finally, read Annalie's book. Honestly,
Well, thank you.
it's probably the best thing you can do.
That's the best
Yeah,
investment you can do for your business. No.
it is because it's all there. It will save you a lot of trouble, a lot of work.
You'll go
Right?
through, you don't have to make all the mistakes that I've made
Yeah.
during a period of 15 years. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah,
That's yeah, exactly.
I guess it's like, yeah, just take inspiration from others, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and the book has a very positive attitude, and it is great because sometimes you can be or feel a little bit isolated from everyone else, right? And when I was reading your book, I felt that that nice connection, as if I was talking to a fellow teacher or a friend who's sitting next to me in a cafe as we did.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. So that sort of feeling that comes across in your writing, in your book, that's great.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I really wanted, not with the book per se, but with the whole concept of language teacher rebels. I wanted to start to create some kind of community, some kind of platform, well, not platform, but I
Hmm.
wanted to start to reach out to other people who were doing the same, because I know exactly what you mean. It can be really isolating, and
Yeah,
I mean, let's get together, let's share, let's, you know,
absolutely.
hang out. Oh, and also put or tell people where to go if they want to find out more about you and how they can connect
Okay,
with you
yeah.
on
So
social and stuff.
so I'm Rafael from Modern Portuguese, and the website is modernportuguese.com. You can see that on my video there, but I'll put it in
Oh
the
yes,
chat.
good.
Modernportuguese.com. I created that website
Your
last year.
website is gorgeous. I love your
Well, it
website.
took me a while, Annalie,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. But you got such a good eye for design. I
thank
think it's
you.
beautifully done. I love
Yeah,
it.
again, I loved the process of
Mm,
designing the website.
mm.
I knew I didn't have to go through the lens that I did, but it was a pleasure to do it. So I invested a lot of time in that, and it was great. So that's modernportuguese.com. Share the LinkedIn profile as well, and of course I'm on Instagram. Um,
You're modern
there's not a lot
Portuguese, though,
there
aren't
yet.
you?
There's
Mm.
not a lot there yet. Haven't had the time to really work on creating content for Instagram, but
Take one
eventually.
channel at a time. Don't have to do
Exactly,
it all
one
in
at a
one
time.
go.
And
Yeah.
I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on, what's the other one you and Farah were talking about? voice something.
Clubhouse.
Yeah,
Clubhouse.
I'm not on Clubhouse.
You're not on
No,
Clubhouse.
so again, I limit myself to the number of social medias I'm in, and otherwise it gets too much.
It gets
I
too
can't
much.
deal with that.
Yeah. I
No.
don't think
Because-
that's necessarily a bad strategy. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, but again, it was really great meeting you in person when we did.
It was
The
great.
idea of investing in myself and my own business. I mean, I've been toying with that for years, but it was then after speaking to you and sharing our ideas, sharing what we think about, teaching and having our own business. After that coffee, I felt really, really inspired. I said, okay, let's go and do it.
Let's do it. Let's not
And then
procrastinate.
2020 happened, and
And
it
then
was a lot.
2020 happened. But you spent a long time in Brazil during that time, didn't you? You
I
got
did.
stuck.
I got stuck, so I went to Brazil in March.
Hmm.
Well, the plan was to go in April, but then COVID started happening. I said, okay, I better go. Flights were canceled. I had to change it like a couple of times. And at the end, I said, okay, I called Lufthansa, I think. I said, do you have a flight for this weekend? Yeah, we do. Okay, I'll be on that flight. So I went to Brazil in March, hoping that I'll be back at the end of May, early June. That didn't happen. So I ended up staying in Brazil until November, end of November. But nothing to complain about it because I was able to carry on with my teaching online.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is great. This is a great opportunity to develop all these skills, to get the experience that I needed, and to work on my website, to think about my business. Suddenly, you had all that time. No one was doing anything, so I'm going to invest in myself. And there's still time to do that, even now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a blessing in some ways, that the time it gave you.
Yeah.
Oh, not just you, me too. So, yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much. It's so interesting to, it's interesting to share, isn't it? It's great.
It is.
So good.
Thank you. Such an exciting day for you.
Yay!